there's a way to make an entrance.
This is my destiny.
It was now a conspiracy of witches.
Download Veely today.
No matter where you are in the world, if you're Australian and things go wrong, there's always one place you can turn: the embassy. Tonight on the show, a ferry inferno in paradise
There were 4 Australians, now there are 2 more.
turns holiday dreams into disaster.
I don't know what's going to happen.
It's very important that we identify as soon as possible who the Australians are.
It was love at first sight, but they've never kissed, never even spoken.
Joel doesn't speak Vietnamese and Viet doesn't speak English.
Now they want to get married.
I said, don't be scared.
Love story.
And he was black banned for 99 years.
How many times you can do this?
But he's back.
They found 0.5 grams.
Is that a trafficking amount?
In more trouble than ever before.
We now have to deal with him again for the 3rd time.
Thailand's remote tropical islands, where bustling ferries weave between rocky outcrops. The magic of tourism. Until disaster strikes. What you're seeing is a ferry going down in flames. It was carrying 117 passengers, including a few Aussies. News of the inferno has reached the embassy.
Are you aware if there were any Australian on board? Right.
We got a name and a number?
We can't confirm, but we have heard there may be 4. Okay. My first priority in cases like this is to find out how many Australians are involved.
And can I speak to a hotel staff, please?
I'll get back to you a bit later with an update.
The Ao Nang Princess has gone down. As shock survivors mill about on the nearby coast of Krabi, underwater divers are desperately searching through the charred remains of the boat. One young tourist is missing.
Can I ask you a few questions?
It's very important that we identify as soon as possible who the Australians are.
At first there were 4 Australians,
Yep.
now there are 2 more.
My worst fear is that we have Australian citizens who have died or are badly injured.
The embassy, a lifeline for the young and the young at heart. Callum's on the case of a happy-go-lucky pensioner in real strife. John has discovered that Centrelink payments go a lot further in Thailand than they do back home.
Mr. Fuller's on a pension. The nature of his payments are they're mobile, so he can travel the world and continue to receive those payments. After a certain amount of time, they're reduced. The rate was switched back to the basic rate. He couldn't afford to live, couldn't afford to survive in Thailand, which is where I think the problems began.
It's a canny way to travel until the money runs out. And that's what happened to John. He bought a one-way ticket to paradise, ran out of cash and overstayed his tourist visa.
He had overstayed his visa by a couple of weeks. Unfortunately, immigration picked him up on the street, so now he's in Pathum Thani prison.
It's the Bangkok trifecta, and now he's in desperate need of help.
If he got in touch with us a day before his visa expired or a day after, at 500 baht per day overstay fine, it's manageable, but that money builds up quickly.
Pratanbami Detention Centre is not a place for pensioners.
Cup.
Callum's here to check on John's welfare.
An Australian coming into a Thai prison is an incredible culture shock. I mean, you have to buy your own medication, you have to buy your own food to a certain degree, a lot of your own clothing, a lot of toiletries. You don't even get your own toothbrush.
But hygiene is the least of John's worries. Communication is what's stressing him out.
It's hard because if you can't talk too much language, then there's bigger language problem.
the language barrier. Always there and often the cause of conflict and distress.
You okay?
John's just not coping.
On Sunday, I got really depressed in the morning. Over here, where they have a long trough, wanted to sleep in the water.
As hard as everything gets, okay, you're never alone. At the end of the day, we're here for you.
Words of comfort. And there is hope. If John can pay off his fines and buy a return ticket home, he'll be able to go home. He just needs to save up enough pension money.
All right, take care. All right, behave yourself.
The alternative is not pretty.
If he doesn't pay for the fine and his return flight back to Australia, he could be here indefinitely.
The news out of Krabi is sobering. The missing person, a little girl, has been found, trapped in the remains of the sunken ferry. Turns out there were 8 Australians on board.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, bye.
A few injuries occurred to some of the people, and obviously a lot of them are in a state of shock.
Among the lucky survivors, there's one young traveller Kirsten's particularly concerned about. 24-year-old Glenn from Toowoomba is stranded in a hotel in Krabi with his Canadian girlfriend Michaela.
The boat company's put us up in a hotel, and we've just got our first chance to use the phone.
Did you lose your luggage on the ferry, or did you have
Everything.
You've lost everything?
All of their belongings are at the bottom of this ocean, including their passports.
And it was in our bags, so it went down with the fire.
Glenn and Michaela, who met in Australia 8 months ago, were enjoying a holiday stopover on their way to Canada. They were planning to live there, but that dream is now in tatters.
I don't know what's going to happen, what we're going to do, so...
All he's got is the clothes on his back, no identity at all.
Will their Canadian adventure go up in flames?
A couple days.
Coming up,
Joshua was assaulted and left on the street.
Bangkok's nightclub underbelly leaves Joshua for dead.
When do I go?
And visa overstayer John's all packed and ready to go.
We have to follow the rule, otherwise it causes you a problem.
So why won't they let him go home? Bangkok, Thailand.
I'm here to see Mr. Fuller, who expected to depart Thailand to Australia tonight.
And detainee John thinks he's finally saved enough pension money to pay his visa overstay fine and buy a flight home. But there's a problem.
When do I go?
Tomorrow's a public holiday, and the immigration office has already shut for the day.
The officer not working during the holiday. They closed the office already.
And until he gets his release forms signed by immigration officers, he can't leave prison.
You know that we cannot control it. Once you're in with the Thai authority, we have to follow the rule, otherwise it causes you a problem.
It gets worse. Because tomorrow's Friday, the immigration office won't open again for another 72 hours.
This is sending me...
A day here can seem like an eternity.
wanted to go today.
Yeah, okay. But now I'm sorry that I would like to explain. Yeah.
But there is light at the end of the tunnel. If John can prove he has the money, he can leave the country first thing Monday morning.
9,000. You go with Kunat. Okay. พี่นัทขอบคุณนะคะ
Kun Jiab arranges for a guard to escort John to a nearby ATM to confirm he has the funds he needs.
He's a lovely guy, but he cannot take responsibility about himself to travel.
Jiab's not counting her chickens until she sees the cash. Surprise, surprise. There's a new crisis. The ATM is faulty. Krabi, a Thai playground for the young and beautiful. After being rescued from a burning ferry, Glenn and girlfriend Michaela have been left high and dry inside this hotel room.
We still just don't know what's happening, what they're going to do with us, how many people made it off the boat.
Glenn is feeling extremely frustrated at the moment. I mean, the ferry company have been helping him out, but there's all sorts of language barriers and things are probably happening a lot slower than he wants them to happen. So he's not in a good place at the moment.
On their one working phone, the couple records what they've got left, which isn't much.
The pants that I'm wearing, shirt that I'm wearing, and we're basically down to, I got my phone, which is completely dead. It's done. I got my wallet with about 4,000 baht, which back in Australia, that's only about 120 bucks.
So now that we're here and waiting, I'm really anxious to find out about our passports. And now I know we're not going to make our flight, and we need to worry about money and getting clothing and just where we're going to go from here.
Their big dreams of moving to Canada suddenly seem a very long way off.
Well, there's no way I'll get a passport in time to leave. We're supposed to be out of here in 4 days. It's going to take at least 2 weeks. Well, looks like Canada's off.
Monday morning, Bangkok. And happy-go-lucky John is happy again. His pension money has come through. He's paid his visa overstay fine and booked a ticket home, and is now on his way to Bangkok Airport. Destination, Australia.
You'll be back in Australia in no time.
But Callum's taking no chances.
Generally, when anyone is a bit of a risk, we like to escort them to the airport, just in case.
We're on the way home.
Luggage checked.
This is a bit of VIP treatment for you.
What a debacle.
You got everything here with you? See you later, John.
Thumbs up indeed. And there's just enough time for one last piece of travel advice.
Hope we don't have to see you again under these circumstances, eh? Yeah, based on Mr. Fuller's past performances, I think we might see him again in the future, but I like to think he'll learn his lesson this time.
Time will tell.
Bye.
For now, it's Sawadi John. At the embassy, Glenn's case has just begun. He's here in Bangkok courtesy of the ferry company whose vessel exploded in flames. All of his belongings are at the bottom of this ocean, including his passport.
Glenn needs an emergency passport so he can travel straight away, but he'll need his full passport for when he works in Canada. So what are your plans?
I was hoping to stay in Calgary for 2 years.
Now, what we can do for you at the moment is apply for an emergency passport.
Yep.
Because that only takes a couple of days. Once you're in Canada, you can apply for a full validity passport from one of our embassies over there.
Yep.
So Canada's back on. They'll be leaving in 2 days. Or will they? The devil's in the detail. And there are a lot of details missing if Glenn wants to work in Canada.
Glenn doesn't have a birth certificate on him. He has to get a guarantor to sign off on his passport application. I don't think his passport photos are right, so it's all a bit of a mess.
Maybe I'll just have to go back to Australia. I can see it happening.
Newsflash for girlfriend Michaela. Glenn is having second thoughts. Is he travelling for love or work? Coming up, Jared's baby name has B seeing red.
The baby's name is come from an alcoholic drink. That is outrageous.
And that's just the start of it.
His name is not even in the baby's birth certificate.
Friday afternoon at the embassy, and Glenn has had an epiphany. It's love, not work, that matters. He's hoping to collect his emergency passport. He's scheduled to fly to Canada in 2 days' time.
I need the emergency passport today for Monday, so we can hopefully get out of here Monday morning. Flight's already booked, so we don't really have a choice now.
The thought of being apart from girlfriend Michaela was just too much to bear.
My brother got the birth certificate.
He'll sort out his full validity passport. That's the one that will allow him to work when he lands in Canada.
So I think it's all sent, but I'm still not sure whether the email actually went through, so fingers crossed.
but it remains to be seen if his emergency passport is even ready. Kirsten rings Canberra.
I'm just ringing up to see whether you got the certified birth certificate for Glenn Neville.
Yes, we did.
Oh, fantastic.
So it's great news for Glenn. He's good to go to Canada.
People shouldn't be put off travelling to Thailand from, incidents such as this, but I guess you've got to face reality and realise that the standards aren't the same as in Australia, so there is an element of risk when you do take public transport.
Awesome. Finally. Yay, how many pages do they have? Right, so they still have heaps of pages.
Just safe travels. And I hope nothing else goes wrong.
Awesome.
Fingers crossed. And can you bubble wrap yourself when you do your snowboarding, please? I don't want any injuries now.
Okay. All the best. I'll see you later.
It's crazy how this one little document can bring so much joy. Vietnam, where love comes in all shapes and sizes.
Sometimes we have a little bit of a giggle about the couples that come through here and you wonder, why? But that's love.
Inside the consular waiting room, Big Aussie Joel has fallen head over heels for petite local lady, Dweet.
Sometimes you feel something. You think it's right.
He's a giggling ball of nervous energy.
Oh.
Joel's a security guard from Sydney's west, and Dweet a divorced single mum from a small country village. They met online.
He's flown 9,000 kilometres to take a punt that she is the one.
Lonely, single, and in the market for love. What better reason to get hitched, right?
So this is the first time you two have met?
We met only a week.
Right. Did she come to the airport to pick you up?
Yes.
Okay. So what was that like?
Maybe she sees this big person come.
Yeah.
I said, don't be scared.
So can you ask if it was love at first sight?
Things that happen, I think. Yes.
Yeah. Love story.
A love story with a twist. Joel and petite Dweet have things they've never shared with each other. Perhaps because they don't know how.
Joel doesn't speak Vietnamese and Dweet doesn't speak English.
We speak with the phone.
So what you
It's on the translate.
Oh, okay.
So she speak to me like that.
They have been communicating by dictionaries. It's the first time I've heard of this. Slightly unusual.
That's love for you. But it begs the question, how much do they really know about each other? At the Bangkok Embassy, Consular Officer B gets a call that he's been dreading.
We just got a report from the police that Jared Kemp, he was banned to come back to Thailand for 99 years, but for some reason, he snuck back into Thailand again. He was arrested for possession of ice.
Jared's pretty much the king of the repeat offenders. We have people who come back over and over again, but I don't think we've had people who sneak into the country illegally because they're so desperate to get back here and reoffend.
If this face looks familiar, well, it is. The last time we ran into Jared, he was under arrest for taking ecstasy.
This is a narcotic category 1.
And he just got his Thai girlfriend pregnant. Now, he's back on yet another drug charge.
I just want to roll my eye every time I hear this name. I mean, how many times you can do this? I mean, seriously.
Jared's in jail for possession of ice.
So he's now at Phuket prison. According to the police, they searched him, found 0.5 grams.
Is that a trafficking amount or?
No, it's for personal use.
Okay,
So
but coming off the back of being banned from Thailand for 99 years and sneaking back in a second time,
I
you
think
probably
he's-
have to stay in jail for a while, hey?
for a while, and his dad is not in a position to help the
Financially?
girl financially.
Yeah, okay. Someone will need to go and see him. You want to go visit him?
Yeah.
As to why he snuck back into Thailand, well, he's a family man now. This is his wife, Oi. Yes, he got married. And this is his baby boy, Jaeger, named after his favourite drink, Jaeger Bomb.
A Jaeger Bomb is a small shot that goes inside another drink like a beer, and then or a Red Bull, and you drink that really quickly. So I guess Jared likes drinking Jaeger Bombs, and now he's got one in his family.
B's not impressed.
That is outrageous. I mean, would you?
He rings to check on Oi.
Okay, just spoke to Jared's girlfriend, Oi. She doesn't have a job. She depends on Jared. You think that being a father would give you something that, I need to change now. It's not me alone. Now I'm having a baby. But he's been going out, having a good time, taking drugs. He's an idiot. And we now have to deal with him again for the third time.
Party boy Jared couldn't be in more strife if he tried. Coming up, Duyet's bombshell.
She really wants her 2 kids to stay with her.
2 kids.
Will Joel do a runner? And the party's over.
We did get a message from your dad, and he thinks that somewhere we're being scammed.
For the bad boy from Oz.
Without that phone call to get the money, you're screwed.
Thailand. And Consular Officer B is on his way to jail to visit this man, serial Aussie offender Jared Kemp.
When we last saw Jared, he was arrested for drugs, and he was then banned for 99 years. So this time Jared's been arrested for having ice, and if he is deported, this will be his 4th time he's deported.
We'll just go and, have a chat with him and check if he's okay. We can't do a lot more than that.
And Jared's not the only one who's suffering. His young Thai wife is also struggling with their new baby boy.
I have to find someone to look at the baby. We don't have money. And I will go to ask my boss for, can I go back to work? There's coyote in Bangla.
This is what a coyote dancer does. Entertain and dance in upmarket clubs and bars. Always beautiful, often young, these girls can pay a hefty price for love.
If she's working as a coyote dancer, she probably has to work nights. That means she has to find somebody to look after her child. It's going to be a real financial burden for her, and she's not going to get to see her child very much.
And neither will Jared. He's in the slammer on drug charges.
We have to go and see Jared in jail because this is our job to go and talk to him, make sure that he's being treated as like other prisoners.
This time round, there's no sign of the cocky young man who thought he could pay his way out of trouble. He's desperate and broken-hearted.
I tell her not to bring Jaggy, or it'll kill me more to see him here. You don't get contact visits here. You're behind glass, talking on the phone, so kills me not being able to, I can't, you don't get phone calls, you don't get, stuff like that. And it's $1,600, and I could be out. But without that phone call to get the money, you're screwed. But yeah.
The bitter aftermath of drug possession. Even B can't help but feel sorry for him.
Got a Thai wife with a newborn baby, and she's going through a tough time without him, so I just hope he can come out soon.
In Ho Chi Minh City, gentle giant Joel and his petite sweetheart Dweet have hired a translator to have their first ever conversation before getting hitched. It's time to reveal a few home truths, things neither of them know about each other. Joel's first cab off the rank.
I have 2 daughters and 1 son, and I have 3 grandkids.
So Joel's divorced and he's a granddad.
When you're looking for love, You know, you might go through the four corners of the planet to find it. So sometimes people are coming here to find love, and sometimes they find good love, and sometimes they find disappointment.
Now it's Dweet's turn.
So her two kids is staying here in Ho Chi Minh City?
Had 2 kids.
She said that because they are now at the time of the examinations, she really wants to have the children to stay with her in Australia.
Ka-ching! It's the price of love. Dweet wants to bring her teenage kids to Australia and live with them.
She said that now she's very happy. She loves you very much.
It's hard to tell whether Joel's sweating from the heat or at the prospect of his very own Brady Bunch. Phuket prison. Guilty or innocent, it'll bring you to your knees. Drug user Jared's been locked up here for over 2 months. He's just been transferred to a police lockup cell en route to court. He's facing trial today for possession of 0.5 grams of ice.
Right now, my sympathies are lying mostly with little Jaeger. I don't know what the future might hold.
Jared gets a welfare visit from Bea and Kirsten.
Get a good sleep last night?
Yeah.
Bit better? Yeah.
He's lost half his body weight and is desperate to see his wife and son.
He lost a little bit of weight. And because, you know, inside the prison, most meal consists of boiled rice and some boiled vegetable. And if you're lucky, you get the rear part of the chicken.
I don't want to run away or stay here for a long period of time. There's only one reason why I do. I don't want to go out partying. I don't want to go anywhere just from... Main reason is to fix him for my son, but I haven't seen him or even touched him for 2.5 months. I just want to spend some time with him, get these documents done, and I'll be out of here.
His dad has sent him money to cover any potential court fines and the flight home. But there's a problem.
We did get a message from your dad, and he thinks somewhere we're being scammed.
The money's gone missing.
Dad's been sending money to this friend, but the money never get to Jared's lawyer.
If it doesn't turn up, Jared may never leave prison. That's how it works here in Thailand.
I'm with the consulate now. Yeah. No other money. Whoa. My dad sent $3,400. Now, he hasn't got anything left. All right, thank you. Love you, bye.
So, his dad's been ripped off. His wife may have to return to pole dancing, and then, of course, there's baby Jaeger. Jared wants to organise an Aussie passport for his son, but his name's not even on Jaeger's birth certificate.
Can your lawyer sort out your name in the birth certificate for you?
No, not on my behalf. You've got to be there in person. Do it. With my wife's got to be there too to actually be there to sign.
Well, I think it's going to be a long, long time before he can live with his son in Australia because his name is not even in the baby's birth certificate. As a father, that this could take months and he's going to be blacklisted from Thailand again.
The chance of your son getting back to Australia is
pretty possible.
Because you
blacklisted. All drug cases now are blacklisted for 99 years.
Yeah.
It's a lose-lose scenario. Jared will either go straight to jail or be deported the moment he pays his fines. He may never get to see his little boy again. Yes, it's Jared's mess, but he's made it everyone else's problem too. Coming up.
I don't know, maybe he'll learn this time, but I doubt that.
Heartbreak at Phuket Airport.
Don't go anywhere. Have to go back Australia.
Sure.
I'm sure it's going to be difficult for a single mother working in a bar somewhere.
How do you say farewell forever?
I remember feeling presence behind me.
And a cowardly attack from behind leaves Joshua in crisis.
The bone is broken in the orbital floor.
At the embassy,
Joshua, it's Val calling from the Australian Embassy. How are you doing?
Hi, Val's on the phone to a young Aussie who's just been bashed and robbed.
I was found by two people on the ground with head injuries, blood coming from my nose, and it was horrifying.
32-year-old Joshua from Sydney has been living in Bangkok for the last 6 months. He's here studying Thai.
That Joshua was assaulted and basically left on the street. And he lost approximately 20,000 baht, which is in the vicinity of $700, $800. So that's quite a lot of money.
It's quite possible that Josh was watched going to the ATM, and then when he came out of the nightclub alone, the people might have seen an opportunity to rob him.
I had footprints. I had someone that actually used their feet on my head.
Wow.
Joshua urgently needs surgery to repair a fractured eye socket. But with no travel insurance and all of his cash and cards stolen, he has no way to pay his hospital bill.
Would you like us to talk to your mum in relation to seeking financial assistance? Because we can.
In this case, the embassy's role is to help Josh connect with his family at home. He needs a way to pay the bill, and looks like the person to do that might be his mum.
I'm just concerned for my mum, that's all. She has had some surgery in the last week herself, and it hasn't really been easy for her.
He's in a bit of a difficult situation. There's no safety net here, there's no Medicare, and he basically has to find the money to pay his medical bill.
There's good news and bad for Jared Kemp.
I got an email from Canberra. Jared's father sent money, so he'll be deported back to Australia.
Jared's wife, Oi, is on her way to the airport with baby Jaeger to try and see him before he flies out.
I think Oi probably still hopes that she'll have a life in Australia with Jared and with her son.
It may be her last chance to say goodbye.
The more times that Jared gets into trouble and the more things that Jared does to break the law, the less likely it is that Oi's going to get her happy ending.
It's a horrible situation, one you wouldn't wish upon your worst enemy.
I'm sure it's going to be difficult for a single mother working in a bar somewhere. It's going to be a lot of hardship for her.
How do you say farewell knowing you may never see your wife or son again?
Go back to Australia, yeah?
Yeah. I go back.
There's the possibility of he going back to Australia and try to get some work. I don't know, maybe he'll learn this time, but I doubt that.
I go back, I'm working, but I make visa for you to come there for a little bit.
Yeah. I'm thinking about to come here, babe. If go there, have to working and make a visa for me and take her to go there.
He doesn't even remember who I am.
That's because he's been in jail for 2 long months.
I don't think he learned from it because this happened before. This is the 3rd time in 2 years.
What a train crash.
Don't go anywhere, I have to go back to Australia. Sure. Yeah, and I'm waiting for you, okay?
I'm sure he'll find a way to come back.
Back in Bangkok, Val and Doi are on their way to hospital to visit mugging victim Joshua.
Viciously attacked in an alley, and we have to go and see him to confirm that he's all right.
There's been no word from Joshua's mum.
If mum is unable to send funds to cover medical expenses, he's basically not going to be able to be discharged.
They will not discharge a patient until the bill is paid.
Joshua's undergone emergency surgery on his eye socket, but he's desperately worried he can't afford the $2,000 medical bill.
I'm very well aware of how things work in Thailand. I can't imagine that trying to leave a police government hospital without paying would go down very well.
Hi, Joshua.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
We asked our colleague in Canberra to ask your mum to send some funds over to you, and we asked for $2,000.
The brutal attack has left him with extensive damage to his eye.
The bone is broken in the orbital floor.
Yes.
So the bottom of the eye and the side as well.
Yes.
Long term, his vision may be affected.
Josh's face is really quite badly beaten, so the injuries to his eye socket might mean that he might lose his sight. It's quite a serious bashing.
At the moment, there's like blurriness in my left eye.
Yes.
And when I use it together with my right eye,
Yes.
sometimes there's double vision as well.
So, do you remember what happened, or?
No. I remember walking out of places and kind of feeling presence behind me.
Yes.
And that was about it.
This is where he was bashed. It was a cowardly attack from behind.
Just unlucky, in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Unless his mum comes through with the funds, there's very little the embassy can do.
I brought one thing for you that's going to help you with your recovery.
Okay. I love Frodo frogs. You know, that's one of the best inventions known to mankind.
Val's a really kind soul, so if she comes to visit you in hospital, it's your lucky day.
It's not going to last long, though.
It doesn't matter.
Who doesn't like a Frodo frog? A little taste of Australia.
Coming up.
I'd just say all the best.
Joel and Duyet's big Vietnamese wedding.
This is beautiful.
At the embassy, Val and Doy have been working the phones to find out if Joshua's mum can cover his hospital costs. Finally, they hit pay dirt.
We hear that Joshua's mum is going to pay his medical bill, and it is a huge relief. It's just fantastic news. The bill is going to get paid and Joshua is going to be discharged.
A few days later at his student pad, Joshua is doing much better.
And recovery has been quicker than expected. Even the maxillofacial surgeon was surprised.
He's also starting to piece together why he was so brutally attacked.
It's possible that somebody saw me taking money out of the ATM prior to going inside the club.
It's a cautionary tale for all young travellers. As for Joshua, he's determined to remain in Bangkok and finish his Thai language training.
It hasn't changed the way I feel about Thai people, that they're really nice. They're great people. I still love living here. I wouldn't choose to live anywhere else.
The wheel of fortune has turned for Big Joel. He's finally found the love he's been looking for. In this small village in South Vietnam, preparations are underway for their big Vietnamese wedding.
I'm sure it's the first time that this village has seen a person from the Pacific, especially such a big example of an islander.
Safe to say, Dweet's friends and family still seem a bit bewildered. Perhaps Joel's custom-made Vietnamese outfit will turn them around.
Look different. Oh.
Their moment of truth has arrived. The Aussie-Tongan security guard is now a husband, and the shy divorced country girl is now a wife.
The biggest difference between a traditional marriage in Australia and here in Vietnam is that when you marry somebody, you don't only marry that person, you marry their family as well, and you marry the commitment to be involved and look after that family for the rest of your life. I'd just say all the best. Enjoy what's coming ahead.
Cheers to that. How time flies when you're in love. In a matter of weeks, Joel's gone from bachelor to husband to family provider. Hopefully, sometime soon, he and Dweet will also be able to talk to each other.
This is beautiful.
Jared's now back in Australia working. Oi's also working as a coyote dancer. She and baby Jaeger may never get a visa to live in Australia. And so ends another day in paradise, where you've got to do what you've got to do to raise a family. Next week on The Embassy.
This guy Samuel's been arrested for teaching English without a proper permit.
They were busted in a late-night police raid.
I don't know how to get myself out of this mess.
And now their lawyer is missing.
We paid 8,000 Australian dollars. There was just nowhere to be seen.
Pretty fucking pissed off.
Hipster Dan has been caught red-handed.
I was just going to get an emergency passport to get me home.
The problem is, you know where the passport is, and so do we.
And he blew all of his superannuation on sex.
It turned out that I was an ATM. She wanted 20,000 baht a month for sex.
Sailor Rob is lost at sea without a lifeboat.
Paying for sex should have been, red light for Rob to think, yep, no, there's something not quite right here.